guess what time it is? Yeah, okay, we're back to me. Okay, for those of you here for the first time. Is that upsetting you? Okay. I think I'm loud enough for... But, okay, I've decided to go a little truth here. I've decided to call my novel a fictional novel. Thank you very much, Marla Miller, because there's just a few little details that might be close to the truth. One or two. For those of you here for the first time, my debut novel, fictional novel, Don't Jump, chronicles a woman, you guys who've been here every month have to hear this every goddamn month. It chronicles a woman's quest to find her place and purpose amongst drugs, sex, rock and roll, and celebrity. This installment finds Andy, a 30-something rock promoter in New York in 1990, just prior to her big opening night in a new venue. It's the olden days, before the internet, before email, before Facebook. For fuck's sake, how did we do that? I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, it was when promotion was done the old-fashioned way. One phone call at a time. Our old pal Vinny, remember Vinny? Yeah. The young, almost famous pizza boy toy of the mega famous Pandora Amora, who Andy's been told she will one day marry, by a psychic that is, and who, other than a couple of kisses, has done little more than been teased by, is back with Pandora living in LA, but is due in town to DJ her big opening night. After a few years of casual friendship in the clubs, Andy decides to ask her cute comedy teacher Lenny if he wants to take it outside. Monkey Boy advised me to cut this chapter. Yes, he did. But if I did, how the hell was I going to tell the rest of my story? It would have been the shortest novel in the history of the world, like a novella, because I would have had to stop. So I'll try not to bore you. Here we go. Sorry, I had to give it to you. He did. And it introduced, anyway. Cookie suggested I spend, Cookie's the mommy. Cookie suggested I spend a couple of days with her and Cy at their Hamptons beach house to help me get centered prior to my opening night. I decided to bring Marianne along as a buffer. It helped Cookie and I to have a distraction. With someone else around, Cookie was slightly less likely to offer unsolicited advice, and I was slightly less likely to get pissed off. Hopping the jitney on the east side of Manhattan, 2 hours later, Marianne and I were drenched in sun and affluence. Soon after, enjoying a light lunch in Cookie's kitchen, the phone rang. "Pick it up, Andy," Cookie yelled from her bedroom. "Hello?" "Hi. Hi, Andy, it's Lenny." "Hi." Eyes wide, putting my hand over the mouthpiece, I stage whispered, "It's Lenny," to Marianne, who gave me a wink. After making small talk for a while, I ventured, "So you want to have dinner?" He'd made the call, so I felt it was okay to balls up the next move. "Great. I'll be back in town Monday," I said, giving Marianne a thumbs up. "How's Tuesday?" he asked. "Sounds good, Lenny. Should we talk that morning?" "Perfect. I'll give you a call. Have a nice weekend." "You too, Lenny. Bye." Did Lenny and I just make a date? Or is it just dinner? I asked Marianne, genuinely unsure of the answer. "Sounds like a date to me," Cookie, now right behind me, said with a grin and a mother's knowing nod of the head. She'd only met Lenny once at my first stand-up gig, but he was Jewish, nice-looking, and employed. Did I mention he was Jewish? Even after Marianne concurred, I was still unsure, but I decided to shake it off until I had some more information. I was anticipating the grand opening night of Jam Girl, as Frankie's Club was to be renamed on Thursdays. The Stonehouse marquee would come down, and up my likeness and new moniker would go. It was the closest I'd ever gotten to having my name up in lights on Broadway, right there in the midst of the most historic theaters of New York. It was such a huge night for me. I decided to forego my usual day of calls and started on Monday. On Tuesday, up to the L's, my call waiting beeped in. I clicked over to, "Hey, Andy, we still on for tonight?" Lenny's friendly voice offered a welcome reprieve from the stress of self-promotion. "Yeah, great. Where? When? How about I pick you up around 7 and we can decide then?" "Perfect. Let me give you my address." Continuing with my calls, I still wondered, is this a date or what? At exactly 7 p.m., my downstairs buzzer rang. Running to the full-length mirror for a last-minute check, I wondered why I was so nervous. I'd known Lenny for years. He'd never made me sweat before. Was this a date or what? A few moments later, there was a light knock at the door. Waiting a respectable 10 seconds, I swung the door open as nonchalantly as possible. Lenny, nervously smiling at me, seemed as unsure as I was. Come on in. Welcome to my humble chapeau. It was a very weak My Favorite Year reference, but Lenny got it, and he smiled and took a few tentative steps inside as we exchanged an awkward embrace. Let me show you around, I said, taking his hand and taking one step to the right. This is the kitchen. Nice. I love the black and white, especially the tile, he said, as he perused the details of the small but visually stimulating area. Taking his hand, we took 2 steps forward and to the left. This is the dining room and my office, I announced as I pointed to the island counter and high-legged chairs. Give me a second to adjust to the altitude shift, he said. Giggling, I took him another 2 steps forward, stepping on the faux zebra skin rug. This would be the living room. Great couch, he said, indicating the cushy black leather centerpiece of the room. Great everything. I love it. Thanks, Lenny. I do too. Leading him another 6 steps forward, I turned to the left. The boudoir, I said as I swept my arm Carol Merrill style.